Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Mm. It's on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
It's always good to have it on before it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Sex positive culture.
It's my body to give.
Are threesome gifts a thing?
Taking a breath.
I like your bed.
Horizontal.
This is Horizontal with Lila.
I'm Lila and I'm horizontal. And I'm Lurleen and I'm horizontal with Lila.
No. You've been waiting to do that. You've been waiting.
Welcome back to Horizontal. It's a podcast about intimacy of all kinds, and it's recorded entirely while the opposite of vertical. In this episode, I lie down with one of my favorite humans, Lurleen. Lurleen lives in Portland, Oregon. I still think of her that way, even though she recently moved to the outskirts. Let's say she's Portland adjacent now. When I first met Lurleen, I thought, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in real life. And just as my envy started to kick in, she made a joke and a funny face. And it was as if to say, you don't have to do that. We could just love each other. I had moved to Portland in November of 2008, an ill-advised bit of scheduling on my part. And it was gray and rainy, and I didn't own a car, and I was biking around without proper rain gear, and I was cold, and my butt got soggy and damp, and that made me very, very cranky. I tried to remind myself that the universe did not owe me a car. The tango scene was pretty much my only social life in PDX, so I bought the Comme, Faut 3.5-inch heels and dove in. My initial joy gave way to the shame and frustration recognized by partner dancers of uneven skill levels everywhere, of not being as good a dancer as my new boyfriend. I tried to come to grips with the way he chased after dances like a dog with opposable thumbs. I came to abhor the way he would shark around the perimeter of the dance floor, snapping his fingers, smiling vacantly, and hunting for a partner good enough for him. Hunting for a partner who was better than him is what it was. And more often than not, he'd forget to check in with me in the process. And then he would whine on the car ride back after we fit my folding bike in his trunk about the fabulous visiting dancer who wouldn't accept a dance with him just yet, and how he was going to be good enough to dance with Mila one day. One such time, when he was off chasing dances, I sat down with Lurleen and her boyfriend, and I started to rant. They had eyes, after all. They were in the same scene with him. They could see what he was doing. But it was the first time I'd shared about it openly with them. Lurleen almost smiled at me in my rage. "I like you so much," she said. And we've been saying that ever since. Even now, we still say, "I like you so much." It means, of course, I see you. I love you. You matter to me. Lurleen is a giraffe in a gazelle's body. She's a Vogue-colored candy shell with a creamy Saturday Night Live center. Lurleen is a fashion model who had thyroid cancer in her late teens, early 20s, was successfully operated upon, and became an esthetician. She still has the necklace-like scar, a smile across her skin. It serves as a daily reminder of how precious existence is, how crucial it is that we enjoy it, and how fortunate we are to still be able to laugh. I feel utterly at ease in her company. In a way, the fact that she's far more beautiful than I am gives me the permission to be as beautiful as I want to be and as talented as I am. What a gift that is. I never try to diminish my light around her because she's bright enough that she has nothing to fear. She's never trying to dim anybody else. Lurleen learned at a young age that she could disarm people with her humor, like she did with me. In the acting world, she's what would be called a rubber face. She's learned how to contort her face for others' amusement, make herself momentarily less attractive, so that others would feel more comfortable around her. Lurleen's steadfast friendship saw me through 2 narcissists and a kind, coffee-making guy I met on a summer trip back to Portland and decided, within a week, that I wanted to marry. I am unmarried. A few days before I left Portland to travel for a year in October of 2010, I sat down with Lurleen on a bench outside a cafe and said, "There's going to be a time that we lose touch. I won't be living here, and I know how you are with the phone, and I want you to know that even when that happens, I will continue to love you as I do now. And it has, and I do." Whenever I announce that I'm coming to Portland, she says, "How long are you staying? And how many days are you staying with me?" I love this woman so damn much that I hope you will too. This episode was recorded in Portland, Oregon at Lurleen's old, creaky, cozy apartment. It was recorded in October of 2017 on my cross-country Horizontal Does America tour, before she moved in with her new boyfriend. In the first part of our conversation, we talk about oversharing, proper boundaries, the idea of opening up a marriage to save it, simultaneously experiencing thyroid cancer and her parents' divorce, and shoulder-checking your sister. If you enjoy lying down with us, become a patron of the Horizontal Arts. You could receive monthly love poems, tickets to a live horizontal storytelling show, or horizontal pillows so that you too can get horizontal with Lila. Every bit of patronage I receive goes into continuing to make independent, uncensored, and ad-free homemade radio. I believe that making private conversations public makes intimacy contagious, and the more intimacy we have in all different forms, the happier and more fulfilled we are. Be part of my mission to spread intimacy across the globe through patreon.com/horizontal with Lila. Patreon is spelled patreon.com/horizontal with Lila. Show me you believe in what I'm doing. Patronage begins at $2 a month on up, and as it increases, the rewards only get more sumptuous. And now, come lie down with us in Portland, Oregon.
Who are those fuckers?
So you should know about my house. It's a 1905 vintage flat, and the walls are paper thin. I hear everything. Everyone hears everything. My neighbor, who I've been neighbors with for 8 years, we hear each other have sex all of the time.
I was about to say, do you get to hear any sex?
I hear sex all the time, and they hear me have sex.
Do you enjoy listening? Because anytime I hear somebody having sex in my house, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, who is it?
Right.
Oh, what position do you think they're in?
Right.
Oh.
Right. Well, at this point, with my neighbor, who I really like and respect, she's wonderful. Anytime I hear her have sex, I'm like, good for her. And we've talked about this.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, good for her with me too. But I have to say I don't hear the upstairs person or my downstairs person. And I think either he's, celibate most of the time, or I think the girl downstairs is super quiet. But she can hear me because I'm not quiet. I'm not quiet, Lila. No.
Lurleen's room is really
boudoir-esque. And she's got a very amber-colored lantern, sort of Amsterdam red light district thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I feel that way, it also feels a little bit like the blues, which is why I'm hoping to overcome it, figure out what the deal is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel tired all the time. It affects every aspect of my life.
Absolutely. I see that.
I remember when I was recording, it was in the early stages of the project, and it was an episode that I can't use now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was recording and we were talking about fantasies and doming, and I was saying, oh my God, like doming sounds so, to me, exhausting. and it was two people I was recording with, and one of them said, there's some laziness around sex for you. And I felt really ashamed. Yeah. At the thought of that I would be considered lazy. And then I realized that I have done a lot of things sexually that I really wasn't that into completing a blowjob to ejaculation, or, not always, but many times just wanting it to be done so that I could go to sleep because I was so exhausted. It wasn't about me being lazy and not wanting to put in the effort for my lover.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it lazy to want to do the chore, to want to just get it over with? Is it lazy to do that, or is it lazy to just say no and say, I'm not into the moment right now and I don't want to do it?
It was more like that would feel, if I really stopped when I wanted to stop, I would feel maybe some shame, guilt at not facilitating the other person's orgasm, or not completing what I'd started, which, as Stevie said, is a very straight girl way to go about sex.
Right.
Sucks.
Right. I have empathy for that feeling of shame around laziness. That doesn't feel good. No.
I really don't want to be tired all the time.
No.
And I'm hopeful that it can shift, because the only reason I've been able to drive all those hours and lug my suitcases in and out of places is because I've felt like I had more energy while I've been on the road the past couple days. I mean, one reason could be that I was up late dry humping.
Were you dry humping? Oh, what were you dry humping?
What?
Ooh. What?
It was a human.
Oh, this is even better. Have you seen Big Mouth on Netflix? It's a show all about puberty, and this one character, Jay, is really enthusiastic about humping his pillow. It gives me life. It's so great.
Does he cut a hole in his pillow or
Yes,
anything? He does.
He does. And he puts these two microwaved up to 98.6 degrees, these bags of lentils in there, and
Lentils.
then he fucks the pillow, and for cleanup, he eats the lentils.
No.
It's in a bag.
No.
Yes. So, yeah. I'm glad you were humping a human and not a something.
Have you seen the YouTube video about the grapefruit blowjob?
What?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, you will love this.
Oh my god.
So the woman is just really intense and absolutely hilarious. So you take the grapefruit, you slice off the top and the bottom, so you just have the thick rounded part, right, which you can picture, and then you cut a penis-shaped hole in the center, and then you blindfold the penis owner.
Okay.
And you say, I'm going to give you the best blowjob of your life. and then she, in the video, I think she puts it on a dildo and she goes,
Oh my god. She's a genius. And I love her. I want to be her friend so bad.
And yeah, I think she does microwave it for about 30 seconds, so it's really hot and warm and gushy. But the sound, I can't even properly imitate it because it is just singular.
This is Horizontal with Lila.
I'm gonna try to do it justice. And then she comes up for air and she speaks really naturally, and then she goes,
Oh my god. I cannot. This is amazing.
So we watched it actually at a potluck, welcoming two new members to the house.
Oh my god.
And then we all wanted to try it.
Oh my god, yes.
We didn't do it with each other. We just want to try it with our partners, you know?
Well, now we need to try it. My concern would be if there's any like skin sensitivities, or if there's like he scratched himself.
Says the esthetician.
Says the skin nerd. I'm like, oh well, I hope there isn't any like allergies to citruses or anything like that. But that's amazing, and she's a genius. She should work for NASA. This is terrible. I laugh at my own funny things. Oh god. That's why I can't do stand up.
That's why I love you.
Oh, thank you.
You laugh at yourself. The thing is that most comedians are really quite miserable that I know, but people who laugh at their own jokes have a grand old time.
Oh, good. Then we should definitely keep it that way. Definitely. I shall.
Did I ever tell you that my parents technically had an open marriage?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my god, twins.
Except they didn't exercise it, from what I understand, which is so interesting because until the end. Because you would think if they pre-negotiated that that would be something that was important to them. But I think it was more like having that permission, as I like to say, permission precludes transgression, that, you know, since they had the permission and it wasn't against their rules, maybe they didn't need to exercise it for most of their marriage. My dad now recently said to me that he thinks mom had a lot of lovers. And she had told me some years ago that she only had one. And it was really at the very end of my parents' marriage. And it was so devastating to her, that experience with this man, that when my parents divorced, she moved me down to Florida because she said she wanted to be as far away from him because he didn't want a relationship.
This lover guy.
This lover.
Wow.
She wanted to be as far away from him as possible while still being on the same coast so that I could easily visit my father.
Wow.
So she moved us all the way down to Florida.
Oh my god.
And she privately says that that's the reason why she did that.
I just think I was a child of, you know, parents who had open marriages. And I think if you have a kid and you're going to be open, be with somebody who will be good to you so that when it's over, you don't have to do that. You don't feel like you have to do that.
It's tough, isn't it? You don't always know how people are going to turn out.
I know.
Right? I think initially she was very much in love and very excited. And it's so hard to know someone's character early on. And, you know, from the current science, they say that an infatuation period or new relationship energy, which is essentially you're on drugs, you're on the other person drugs, can last somewhere between 6 months and 2 years.
Great. Oh, wow. After that?
Then you might move into, what is the next stage? Is it called intimacy, or one of them is called bonding? I think that might be bonding. I think you might move into bonding afterwards. I'll have to look it up.
Cool.
So,
She was in that drug stage.
well, I don't know. I don't know much about it, but I wanted to tell you that because I know that that has affected you. So what was their relationship like?
My parents both grew up in a Christian Science household.
What is Christian Science?
To my knowledge, it's a branch of Christianity, one where they don't go to the doctor. They pray and you'll be healed. So it's just another form of Christianity. And so I was not raised in the church. But my parents were. My dad lived and was from California. My mom's from Iowa. And my dad grew up in a household with his identical twin brother where he didn't see intimacy. He didn't see his parents hug or kiss or give that kind of, warm touch and connection and that warmth. He didn't see that. His idea of love that he got from a very early age was being a provider and a companion. My mom over in Iowa grew up also in the church, and she saw her parents hug, kiss, laugh. She heard them making love, and she just knew that that would be a part of her life. Neither one of them had sex before they were married to each other.
Whoa.
And they got together when they were 18 and 19. They met at a Christian Science college, and they dated for 2.5 to 3 years, and they never went below the belt.
Whoa.
Yeah. They never went below the belt. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. My dad would gather the Bibles after the service. They were very good kids. And my mom asked her mother, who she was very close with, well, what's it like? And her mom told her, oh, well, on your wedding night, you have your wedding and then everything is wonderful. And it didn't prepare her at all. And so
she told her nothing. She basically had no sex ed.
No sex ed. The only sex ed my dad got was, if you get a girl pregnant, you're going to hell and you're going to be disowned and shunned and all this stuff. And so my mom, I think, was very eager to experience intimacy, and I think my dad was too, and neither one of them knew how or had, practiced, or, they just thought everything would be hunky-dory after the wedding day. So the wedding day came, and it was the worst night of my mother's life. Like, her body physically shut down.
Oh my
Like,
God.
her labia was like hardened and it felt like rubber down there. And I know so much because she told me all of this.
Right. So she's a bit of an overshare,
Oh.
like my mom.
Yeah, understatement. So, like, no fluids were working and the tissues weren't soft and lovely like always. And so it was just a bad experience. And so the first long time, like 10 years of their marriage, like early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, like it was just them trying to figure shit out. And during that period, they moved away and they lived in Hawaii and they tried to figure it out and trying to figure stuff out. My dad was working really hard and they had opposite schedules, and my mom told me that they were having sex, I think, once a week, which, in my opinion, in your early 20s and you're newly married isn't enough.
Depends on the libido of the people, of course, but
Totally. I think they had mismatched libidos.
it does seem unusual.
It does.
Mismatched libidos, from what I understand, is one of the most common problems in marriages.
Oh, sad. So, fast forward. They moved to California, and my mom was 29 when my sister was born. She was 31 when I was born. And they were pulling away from the church. They were reading new books and they were getting different perspectives. And I think by the time I was about 4 or 5, they stopped going to church altogether. And when I was about 5 or 6, I just remember so many screaming, yelling arguments in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. And I remember feeling all of this anger radiating off of my mom, and all this like hurt yet stubborn and anger, and all these feelings radiating off of my father. And about that time, when I was like 5, 6, 7, that's when they opened up the marriage, and they started dating other people, and there's a bit of a blur. And I remember when we moved into this other house in the town I grew up in, this Dutch Victorian that was super cute. I was about 10, anywhere from 10 to 12, 15. That's when they were bringing around a lot of, oh, this is mom's boyfriend number 1, number 2, number 3. And this is dad's girlfriend number 1, maybe number 2. And I was going through puberty, and I had braces, and I had headgear, and I didn't have boobs. And Lila, I'm still waiting for boobs. And like all this sex swinging.
I just saw your boobs and they look beautiful.
Well, thank you, Lila. I'm aspiring to be like your boobs. So I'm going through this like weird puberty shit, and there's all this sex stuff happening. And Jolene, would you mind spending the night at your, friend's house, because we're gonna have a party? And I would come home and there'd be all these naked people in the hot tub, and my mom would want to have a big party, and then she would sign up my sister and I to help her, and then she would become this super controlling, like, you're going to help and you're going to do this, this, and this, and this, and be really shitty to my sister and I, and super nice to everyone else. So, oh my God. And so to this day, whenever my mom's having a party and Chandela and I are there, we're just like, ugh. Not having it.
So you were kind of like indentured servants helping her
Yep.
prep for her sex parties.
Super cool. Great boundaries.
And you knew that that's what was happening.
Yes.
So you're a teenager
Mm-hmm.
being like, Mom, you're disgusting.
Yeah. Yes. This is disgusting. It's not normal. And Lila, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but they would have family meetings with the boyfriends who I didn't like, this is so weird. I was really bitchy to them.
Yeah. I was bitchy to my mom's boyfriends too.
Yeah, I was really, really bitchy to them. And oh my God, they couldn't understand why. And I didn't get it. And so they would have a family meeting that would last hours to talk about why Julian is being such a bitch to so-and-so.
That you had to be a part of?
Mm-hmm.
You were in these meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Were you afraid that other kids were going to find out? Or did they know? Or was...
My close friends, I had a really great group of close friends, and they all knew. And they were not judgy. And they were great. And they were a safe little haven for me to go escape to. I never wanted to have too many sleepovers at my house, and this is why. When I was a younger kid, my really, really good friend Alyssa, she would come over to my house. I would go to her house, and our moms were best friends, swinging buddies. And I would spend the night over at her house, and her mom would be fucking for hours, like the loudest fucking you've ever heard in your life. And then I would have, her over at my house, and we'd be playing Super Nintendo in the living room. That's when my mom and dad took it upon themselves, or whoever they were doing, to have the loudest sex ever in the whole wide world. And it's like, have some fucking class. And so I think, anyway.
No, go ahead.
Yes. I think there is a way to have an open, fun, juicy, sensuous, sexy marriage that's open. And I think my parents didn't do it
But
very
that was
well.
not it.
But that was not the way.
Is what you're saying.
That was not the way.
So do you think, was it really that it was in your face?
It was so in my face.
And if it had not been in your face, do you still think you would have been like, my parents are weird and gross and abhorrent and disgusting?
I think if my mom practiced better boundaries and didn't fill me in on every gross, microscopic detail about her sex life with my father and with her lovers, had better boundaries around that, treated me like her daughter, not her confidant,
Not her friend.
not her friend, not her therapist, not her sounding board. Had they had better boundaries of, why don't we take the party to this other person's
Hotel room.
to go to the other place and have our home be the sanctuary.
With our nuclear family.
With our nuclear family, exactly. And not lied to me. Don't hide from me, because children are so smart.
What did they lie to you about?
Well, they didn't hide anything from me. Everything was just wide in the open, and there is a way to be honest and even transparent with your kids, even if they're young or if they're older and they're teenagers, and still let them know that our home is a sacred space for our nuclear family. And I would have felt so much safer, because by the time I was a teenager, I was locking my bedroom door, telling her, just don't fuck in my bedroom. I don't think she ever would. I don't think anyone would ever would, but you know,
But you felt protective of your space.
Yeah. And so I think they just did a real terrible job of it. And looking back on it, well, what would have been better? If they would have gotten divorced, would that would have been better? No. No, because then my sister and I would have had to
go back and forth, visitation.
And
tell your mom this, tell your dad that. I got that. It was awful.
Yeah. And so I'm glad they stayed together. As hard and as messy as it was, I'm glad they stayed together, because minus all of that stuff, they were best friends. They parented beautifully together. They agreed on lots of different topics and issues. Life partners, they're fantastic. It's intimacy and sex. They just...
Did they open up the marriage in order to save the marriage? Like, did they open up their relationship in order to try and fix something?
Yes. And they wanted...
I know people who counsel against that. They say, don't open it up unless it's not broken.
I think they were just so fed up. I think they were just so fed up and didn't know what else to do. And they read all the books at the time, and they went to the seminars, and they went to sex therapy, and they went to they did all the things.
Was it that they just didn't have chemistry with each other, or that your mother's sex drive was so much higher that she was unfulfilled?
I think she was expecting my dad to fulfill her when... How do I say this? It's hard for me to speak for her.
Yeah, of course.
It's super hard for me to speak for her.
Yeah, you can only make conjecture. I'm sort of asking for the conclusions that you've drawn.
The more she needed and she needed, the more my dad resisted.
My parents had that dynamic as well.
That's sad.
Do you think it's about the amount of lovers? Like, did you develop a distaste for promiscuity because there were so many? Do you think if it had been dad had one girlfriend, mom had one boyfriend, they came around, you had dinner as a extended family, if that would have been the same discomfort?
I don't think so. I think it wouldn't have mattered if it was just one or if it were many. I think if they would have practiced, again, proper boundaries and
when you say proper, you mean you wanted them to keep it outside of your home. Yeah.
I'm a big time Cancer, and when I feel my home is jeopardized or there's a lot of weird energy happening in my home, I really freak out.
Well, I'm sure that the childhood instilled that in you, right? So that, teenage you is defending her room, and now you're defending your apartment.
Absolutely.
I don't open my room when we have parties. Some people do. Kenneth allows people to play on his bed. That's a big play space because he has the mega bed with the 2 queen beds put together.
Wow.
And then there's a few folks who allow people to come into their rooms and play. And there's several of us who close our rooms and have, signs up that say private, do not enter, and only invite, people that we want to come into our space, sort of like the VIP lounge, come with me. Because there's very little space in this world that is designated as mine. And I want it to be my energy and the energies that I invite. So I identify with that a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My parents have been really good to me. And I think once I got to be a little bit older, an older teenager, I really had to lay down the law with my mom and just tell her, you're sharing way too much. And when she would start sharing with me, I'd call her therapist and I'd get the phone in her face. Like, no, no, I will not hear any of this. And so now I'm in my mid 30s and she got a lot better about it, like in my late 20s and early 30s. And so this is a new thing where she's not sharing everything with me. And it's wonderful. It's so good. And so she's such a good parent. And I love her. And I love her more than anybody. And I love my dad. And my dad is a wonderful parent. And I love him more than anybody. And they're great. And even though it was rocky and shitty and they did a pretty bad job of it, like I still love them so much. And I'm so glad they didn't get a divorce until later. So that's the next part of the story, I think. My parents were married for a long time. I think they were together for about 30 years total, 30, 35. And in my mom's open marriage-ness, she met a man who was all about monogamy and, you know, talking the talk, never walking the walk. And he met my mom, became crazy for her, and they had a really great intimate connection. And my mom divorced my dad so that she could be with this other man. And I was going through thyroid cancer the second time, and they laid the news on my sister and I around the holidays. And during that time, about 2002-ish, yeah. I was 21, and I had to go in and have surgery again and radiation again. It was such a great way to like step into adulthood, like being really sick and having her whole family like fall apart. And so that was horrible. My sister was crushed. I'm more pessimistic than her, less of an optimist. I saw it coming. And I was again very disgusted by my mom. Like, of course you're getting divorced. You think you're going to have an open marriage for this long, be this sloppy, and have your marriage last? You're stupid. Like, you know? I'm like, well, of course this is happening. And of course it's happening now because you're fucking selfish, narcissistic. You couldn't wait till I was healthy. No. Like, yeah. So that's the attitude I took. And my sister, who wanted to live in a bubble and just, oh my God, Lila, I think she was going to live with my parents her whole life and was just going to go about her wonderful life and go and travel and have her wonderful experiences and always just come back
to the nest.
To the nest, exactly. And I think once that nest disintegrated and she didn't have that safety and no one was going to enable her to do that, she became very sad. And so my mom moved out first. I moved out second. My dad moved out third. Chandel stayed. My sister stayed.
In the family house?
In the family house while it was being in the process of being sold. And our neighbor could hear her crying from across the street.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was so like deeply painful for her because she didn't get the oversharing with my mom. My sister has always had really great boundaries and has taken up space and has been a very strong individual, so that when my mom started to share that with her, she's like, that is, keep your business to yourself. I don't want to hear that shit. And she literally said that.
Whoa.
I know, like as a kid.
How did...
Right.
So she just had
And, like, Chandel's allergic to
almost
drama.
innate sense of boundaries.
I know, and she's amazing at that. And I love that about her so much. So,
You haven't always loved that about her.
she's also been a big poop to me, but I love her now so much.
And that dynamic, I think, is really important as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna hear more about. I remember some story about you being in a hallway.
So these stories are great. So my sister was born with claws and spikes and scales. I was born without skin or a spine. So I was this overly sensitive, gelatinous ooze that just was so sensitive. And
Don't make fun of young you. It makes me sad.
I love young me, but I'm also like, I turned into a beautiful swan, so I'm okay.
You did.
I did. And so my sister,
Decidedly swan-like.
very, very swan-like. My sister was 6 feet tall by 6th grade.
Oh, shit.
And was always physically bigger, taller, stronger than most of the people in her class. And so she's always identified with, I'm big and strong and I'm super capable and rah, rah, rah. And her strength and she'd always like pick on me, make fun of me, and when we were younger. And it just went on and on and on. And finally, when I was about 14, I also became a tree. and now I am a giraffe.
Yes.
And so there's a very narrow hallway in our house. Oh no, it wasn't a narrow hallway at all. There was all this space. Down this hall, there's a ton of space. I'm getting my friend's house confused with the house. There's all this space. There's this one like hallway running rug that was narrow, and that was like, oh, that's the rug we walk on. And so Chandel and I are coming up to pass each other, and I always moved to make way for her. She never moved and made way for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was one of those days where I think I just had a wild hair at my ass, and I was like, I'm not gonna take her shit. I'm really not gonna take her shit, and I'm not gonna tell her I'm up to this. And so she starts walking down the hall, and I square up my shoulders and I puff up really big and I shoulder check her really hard, like with all my 14-year-old might. And she's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, move. You move for me. I always move for you. Get the fuck out of my way. And so, like, I started doing this kind of shit more and more and more and more and more. And when she'd be bitchy with me, I'd make fun of her and she'd laugh. And I would use my humor a lot to kind of get her to back off.
Disarm her.
To disarm her. It is my main defense. Like, it's my go-to thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And it's exhausting to try to be on point and funny and take up that kind of space when it's not my natural state. So, yeah. So that happened, and we've arm wrestled, like the wrist wrestling, a couple of times. Once when I was 14, and I beat her. And then again when I was 21, and I beat her again. And I'm the reigning champion. She wants a rematch so bad, and I'm like, no, because I'm really weak now, and I don't want to. I'm big truthful.
You can just reign. Because...
I'm just gonna reign. Supreme. So, as with any bully, once I took up space and told her again and again that she can't talk to me that way and she can't treat me that way, the more respect she she gave to me. And to this day, I still have to kind of, my energy totally shifts around her. I'm hyper vigilant of any kind of barbs or thorns she may throw at me. Like she doesn't like my sense of style or fashion, and I don't think hers is particularly elegant either. And so we don't agree there. And yeah, watching her and my mom's relationship now is very challenging. Jindal is still upset and hurt about the divorce, and she's never gotten over it. And she expresses that anger towards my mom in her words when she's around her. And it's like constant slings and arrows being thrown at her.
What did
verbally.
she say to her?
She'll make a lot of comments about my mom's cooking, or, you know, the fact that it's so cold in the house, and she'll just immediately turn on the fireplace when it's like, you know, 80 degrees outside and they have the AC on inside. And she's...
And your mom never puts her foot down with your sister and says,
No.
you can't talk to me like that.
No. I think she still carries a lot of guilt. And to her, it's not worth having that confrontation, because she wants connection with her so bad. And she wants a good relationship with her so bad that she'll just put up with all of that verbal abuse.
Did you and your sister ever talk about how she felt about your parents' open marriage?
That's a good question. I think we have. And at the time, she said, their stuff didn't affect me. I went about my life and I didn't pay attention to their drama. And again, she had the really good boundaries with what you're telling me right there just sounds like drama. I don't want to hear it.
Even overhearing them have sex, or having all these people come to the house, she just said, I wasn't affected by that.
That's what she said. I don't know if it's entirely true.
Yeah, I mean, I said I wasn't affected by my parents' divorce,
But
I clearly was.
So I think she was, and I think she still is, and I don't think she's doing anything at all to process that anger and get it out of her body.
What have you done?
I've done years and years of therapy.
Talk therapy?
Hypnotherapy, talk therapy, meditation therapy, yoga. I've done a lot of stuff.
I didn't know that.
I've talked with intuitives. I've talked with past life regression. I've done a lot of shit.
But what did you find to be effective for you?
Time, not living there, having space, being an adult. That's all very helpful. I'm really glad I had the talk therapy and the hypnotherapy and all the therapy that I went through, because there was a lot more anger inside me. And I'm glad I processed a lot of it, because now I feel like a lot of it's in the past, and I love my parents so much, and they're wonderful, and they're so good to me that, they didn't do it right, but
It's hard to do it right.
it's so hard to do it right. Oh
Who
my
does?
God.
Time for some credit where credit is due. Chad Michael Snavely edited this podcast. He's at chadmichael.com. Alan Markley created my intro jam. He's Plastic Cannons on Instagram. and Shauna Shea drew my cover art. She's SHANA SHAY on 99 Designs. Tune in next week for the second part of my conversation with Lurleen, in which we discuss the art of masturbation, shape-shifting for boyfriends, the Nazi cuddle, my future man, and Lurleen's one and only time at a sex club. Until next time, may you all have someone to love, something to do, and something to look forward to. It's been a pleasure becoming horizontal for you.
Was she preparing for anything, or was she?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, she says that she was preparing for some. I think she said she's preparing for something later, but that she wouldn't tell me about it. I mean, she told me offline about it.
Butthole aerobics.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
I knew it.
She was doing butthole